A woman was driving in Ohio. She knew something was wrong the moment that Mustang pulled up behind her. It wasn't just road rage. It felt like the car shouldn't even be there. Welcome, I'm Paul. This is my co-host Dave, the platypus on my shoulder. Today I have 12 glitch in the matrix and paranormal stories for you. Let's get to it. Case file number 3390, written by Throwaway XZCP, the Orange Mustang. Aside from seeing some weird lights in the sky when I was really into astronomy in my younger days, I've never had anything that could be described as a paranormal experience. Until Tuesday. I was on the interstate driving back home after an ultrasound appointment at the Cleveland Clinic. For the record, I don't have any brain issues. This was an abdominal ultrasound. I had to get done up there because none of the ultrasound techs in my area are trained to do this specific imaging that my doctors needed. Anyway, my appointment was early in the morning, so my drive back was during daylight hours. There was an accident on the interstate that reduced traffic down to only the right lane, and after I had gotten past it, I wanted to get over on the left lane and continue on my way as quickly as I could. I looked over my shoulder to make sure it was safe to change lanes, and there was an orange late 90s or early 2000s Mustang in the left lane. I stayed in the right lane, and as traffic sped up, I let the car ahead of me get some distance so I could get a safe distance ahead of the Mustang and get over to the left. As I hit the gas, the Mustang matched my speed almost exactly, and as I ran out of room in the right lane in front of me, I slowed down and figured I would just wait until the Mustang and whoever was behind it passed me, and I could then get over. Well, the Mustang didn't pass me. In fact, it matched my speed again as I slowed down, and I thought to myself, wow, I'll bet the people behind him are getting pretty pissed off. So I slowed down another 5 or so miles an hour and figured that would be enough to let him pass me. At this point, I'm going 10 under the speed limit. He stayed in the left lane and slowed down in tandem with me yet again, and I honestly was starting to get worried that I made this guy angry somehow and was getting into a situation with a road rager. Just then, the audiobook I was listening to skipped ahead and started playing the next chapter without finishing the one it had been on, which happens occasionally. It's an almost 20-year-old MP3 player I plug in with an auxiliary cable. So I glanced down to grab it and click it back to the correct chapter. And after I got it back to where it was supposed to be, I looked over in the left lane again and the Mustang was gone. To be clear, completely gone. Not next to me, not ahead of me, not behind me. I didn't just check my mirrors either. I turned my entire head to look behind me, and there was no Mustang, orange or otherwise. I took my eyes off the road for about 2 seconds, that's it. Just enough time to make sure I was grabbing my MP3 player in the right place and not knocking a bunch of stuff on the floor in the process. I put it on the right chapter without looking at it. After having the damn thing for almost 2 decades, I know all of the buttons by touch alone, and that wasn't the first time it had skipped ahead a chapter, like I mentioned. I slowed down even more than before. About 6 cars in the left lane passed me, and still no Mustang. 2 cars that had been behind me in the right lane got over and passed me as soon as they could, too. I could see at least 300 yards ahead, and there was no Mustang anywhere. That part of Ohio is flat as a pancake, so it's not as if the Mustang could have gone around a bend or gone up a hill or dipped down one either. Besides, there wouldn't have been time. Within the space of no more than 2 seconds, that car completely vanished. I saw that freaking Mustang, I know I did, and not for a short period of time either. So where the hell did it go? And if it wasn't there, then what the hell did I see? So as you mentioned, this disappearance happened in 2 seconds. You could levy a lot of reasonable explanations if it, say, maybe took 10 seconds. The car could have sped off, maybe got behind a blind spot of a different car, and then maybe got ahead of a few cars and simply you lost track of it. But in 2 seconds, even a Tesla with 1,000 horsepower and insane acceleration could not have gone that fast. And I mean, this is a Mustang, so even if they tried to, you would have heard the engine roar considerably. So, yeah, it simply vanished. The real question was it ever really there in the first place? At least, was it there in your universe? Written by Throwaway 23. Tangled but complete. A couple weeks ago, I put my necklace with a pendant in my cargo pants pocket as I was leaving my boyfriend's house. I forgot the necklace was in my pocket when I did laundry like a day later. I don't wear jewelry that often, and didn't remember until the wash cycle was complete. When I moved the laundry to the dryer, I didn't see the necklace at all, but when the laundry was dry and when I went to unload it, there was a pendant, only without the chain right at the front where the lint trap is. Well, at least I found the valuable part, the pendant, I thought to myself, and decided I'd just use a different chain when I wanted to wear it. I took it to my room and placed it in a little container I put other jewelry in, and forgot about it. A couple days later, I saw the silver chain that I thought was gone, wrapped around the drawstring of some other pants that had been in the same load. Cool. I'll untangle that mess and put it back with the pendant when I have a moment. I procrastinated hard about folding laundry and untangling this chain, but today I decided to. I reach for the pants that have the chain wrapped around the drawstring in a huge tangle and the pendant is on it, but I don't know how because the necklace is still so tangled. And why would I put the pendant back on the chain just to get it retangled again? Makes no sense. And I'm quite certain about my memory of finding the pendant first, and feeling relief that I found that part because it was a gift. I'm truly confused about this. Case file number 3392, written by Medieval Sea Monster, 57 minutes. I have a middle-aged indoor cat. She's not typically interested in going outside, and doesn't rush the door or anything. One night, my partner got home from grocery shopping and yelled, "Why is the cat on the porch?" implying I'd left the door open or something. I insisted I hadn't even opened the door since he left, so we consulted technology. Smart lock confirmed the door was not open between the time my partner left and the time he returned, about an hour later. All the windows had been closed and locked. I was feeding the cat when my partner left, so I know for sure he was inside at that point. I have a lot of cameras around my house, especially around the porch. I also have one of those video doorbells where you can see out straight and also down where a package might be. There are virtually no blind spots. Camera showed my partner leaving, locking the door, walking to his car, parked just at the edge of the porch. The package camera thing does not show the cat darting out behind him or anything like that. There's no way she got out behind him. No motion for the next 57 minutes. Then, about 3 minutes before my partner returns, the cat pops out from behind a wicker chair in the far corner of the porch, looking freaked out. She paces on the porch, meowing for a few minutes until he returns home and scoops her up. How? I mean, you have camera evidence, footage of the outdoor area, and your cat never got out there, and yet somehow he did. I mean, we always have stories with cats and dogs that are just teleporting around, phasing through matter. In this case, more like a teleportation event. Are spacetime portals interacting with them in some way? I don't really think that happens often inside of homes, so I think it is an innate ability with pets. And maybe it has to do something with placeholder events, or I think most pets do have souls, but maybe there are transfer events where they can temporarily be placeholders until a new soul is loaded into it. Maybe they have to be transferred around, similar to how we are transferred around between universes, although I think in our case, it's more special and it results in more of a blending, where if one person's already occupied, they simply fuse them together, in our case. So maybe when this is happening to pets, they simply lose cohesion. It's like their waveform returns to the superposition, as long as no one's observing them. A new definition for Schrodinger's cat. But at least it doesn't involve a radioactive isotope. Case file number 3393, written by CAG MFG. 5 stoplights, 3 people, 1 car. I was on the way home from the local pet store. I had an Escalade in front of me, a red Mazda SUV beside me, and a black Toyota in front of the Mazda. We stayed in this group for 5 stoplights, and the red Mazda SUV was beside me at every light and beside me on the road, because the front cars were driving under the speed limit. At every light, I was talking to my dog and noticed the guy driving the SUV, white male, short black hair, extra dark sunglasses, a 5 o'clock shadow, and a blue button-up shirt. He was totally locked in on the car in front of him because he didn't look around at anything. On light number 4, I looked over again and now an older, heavy-set white lady with white hair and a bright red shirt was driving the red Mazda SUV. I looked around to make sure another car didn't get in our little group and didn't see one. At this point, I'm totally confused as I saw this SUV beside me the entire time, so I know it didn't turn off. Then we get to the last light where I'm about to turn off, and I go to look at this lady again, and now it's the white dude driving again, and now he had a dark-haired female sitting beside him. Case file number 3394, written by Lawn19. Removed, returned, recounted. On Christmas Day night, I was at my mom's house. The kids had gone to their dad's, and me and Mam were just relaxing, watching the bake-off. I was wearing a new pair of slippers that my mom had bought for Christmas, and when I kept getting up, something on the bottom was crunching as I was walking, and it was annoying me. So when I sat down, I put my feet up on the poof. I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, so it's not easy for me to bend my legs up to look at my soles, and asked my mom if I had stickers on the bottom of my slippers. She said I did. I took the slippers off and peeled off the stickers. The stickers were stuck over the raised text on the sole that shows the size and so on. I went to the kitchen and put the stickers in the bin by sticking them to a cardboard box that was in there. About an hour later, we were just watching TV, and I had my feet up on the poof again, and my mom looked at me and said, "I thought you'd taken the stickers off those slippers." I said that I had. She said that there was still one on my left slipper. So I took it off and had a look, and it was still there, still stuck over the raised writing. On the other slipper, there was residue where the sticker had been, in the same place, and there wasn't any residue on any other part of the slippers, so it couldn't have been a second sticker. I distinctly remember peeling it off the first time. We just looked at it, bewildered for a second, and then I peeled it off and went to put it in the bin, only for the original 2 stickers to be stuck to the cardboard still. I peeled them off and took them into the living room to show my mom. We even matched one of them up with the indented pattern from the raised words on the bottom of the left slipper. It matches identical. We couldn't believe it. It literally made no sense at all. I peeled it off and put it in the bin, and it somehow dematerialized. So I went and put all 3 stickers back in the bin. The original 2 stuck to each other, and then the third one. Later on, my mom went to make a cup of tea, and when she threw the tea bag away, she shouted through and asked me if I'd put all the stickers in the bin. I said I had. She said there were only 2. I went and looked, and she was right. Where I've stuck the original 2 together, there was now only 1, and then the third one was there next to it, where I'd put it. Me and my mom were completely bewildered. Case file number 3395, written by Live Tomorrow 4865. Lake Park after midnight. It was nighttime, and I was driving home from St. E's Boardman. I take South Avenue all the way and catch Lake Park where it becomes the extension of South Avenue, all the way to Midlothian. This car and mine were the only 2 on Lake Park that time of night, and it was about a football field in front of me. That stretch is flat also, and there are no turnoffs to the right, except the cemetery where the gates are locked after dark. And there are several to the left much further down, almost to the intersection with Midlothian, but this car and I were not there yet. I was barely paying attention to the taillights in front of me, but suddenly they just popped out of sight. They weren't far enough down the road to turn off, and had they been, I'd have seen their lights as they made the turn. It was puzzling and a little startling. I got to my intersection thinking maybe the car had somehow dipped from my sight and would be idling at the red light, but nope, just gone. Case file number 3396, written by The Inverse. Can silence move things? I'm telling this as a combined experience. I currently live with my mother, who was in her bedroom, and she walked into the bathroom to use it. We both keep somewhat nocturnal and odd hours as we both work from home. It's not rare that one of us would be asleep when the other isn't, but it's also not that rare that we both could be awake around 4 or 5 a.m. reading and whatnot. I always sleep with my bedroom door shut and locked. It's just a habit I have which makes me feel safe, From the bathroom, you can see my bedroom door. My mother left her room and saw from the bathroom that my door was open, but just a tiny bit, where the door is resting against the frame but not shut. I only keep it that way if I'm awake and getting ready for bed, and may need to go to the front of the house again before closing and locking it to sleep. So my mother assumed I was in there, but awake. She says she called out to me a few times. I haven't felt well most of today, and she wanted to check on me, but I didn't answer. I'm awake, but reading on my couch one room away from the bathroom and bedrooms. I have misophonia, which makes me extra sensitive to any noise, and working late helps me concentrate when it's extra quiet. She said she looked away briefly after calling out to me, and when she turned back around, my door was all the way open with the light on. There was no way I wouldn't have heard her, even here from the couch. I hear everything. I currently hear clocks ticking from 2 rooms away, but I heard nothing. The only noise I heard was her coming out of the bathroom and nothing before that, which is odd. I even had a moment of thinking, I didn't know she was awake. Last I knew, she was sleeping, but she looked into my room when she was finished and expected to see me there. She walks in here and tells me her side of this, while I tell her mine, and I have no idea what to think. Could this be a glitch situation? I only heard her after she started to walk in here, and it's weird I didn't hear her get up or use anything in the bathroom or even call my name. It's been dead silent. How did my door go from shut to open in just a brief moment? Could we have both lived in a different timeline or something for a few minutes? Case file number 3397, written by Doll Selection 615. Hydroplaning through reality. About a week before the main event, my friend Morgan and I were driving, and a car cut in front of us and kicked up a rock. It hit my windshield literally right in front of my face. For a split second, it felt like the rock almost went through the glass and into my face, even though it didn't. I turned on the windshield wipers, thinking maybe it was dust, but there was a chip with a tiny crack coming off it. We both saw it, talked about how annoying it was, and I didn't worry too much because where I live, windshields get replaced for free all the time. That chip stayed there all week, directly in my line of sight. Fast forward to about a week later. I was supposed to meet Morgan for a night out, but I got out of work late, and by the time I got there, she was already a little drunk. I decided it was better to just drive her home first, so I could relax and enjoy the rest of my night without worrying about her. It was raining pretty hard. I was on the highway going the speed limit. There are about 5 lanes, and I was in the middle lane, with a bunch of cars behind me. I hydroplaned. I drive a sports car, and I have experience controlling it. I drift corners sometimes, so I know how it responds, but this was different. I started fishtailing across the highway, within inches of the median multiple times, like back and forth across all the lanes. We ended up doing a full 180 and were facing the wrong direction in traffic, headlights coming straight towards us. As soon as the car stopped spinning, I booked a U-turn and floored it so we couldn't get hit. Now, this is the part that really messes with me. Morgan is someone who knocks out instantly when she sleeps. She's incredibly hard to wake up, like it could be mid-conversation and she's gone. She wakes up in that moment with a gasp and says, "We got into a 9-car pileup." I just stared at her, because that absolutely would have happened if we'd hit the highway maybe 10 seconds later. After that, everything felt off. While I'm driving, I realize the chip in my windshield is gone. Completely gone. The chip that had been right in front of my face for a full week. No crack, nothing. I have a dash cam, so I pulled over later and checked the footage. The dash cam records in 2 or 3 minute loops. The entire loop with the hydroplaning, the spinning, her waking up and saying that, is just missing. Not corrupted, not half there, just gone, like it never happened. So first, where do you live where you can get your windshield replaced for free? I mean, maybe that is something that I don't have a car, I've never driven, so maybe that is pretty common in this universe too? I don't know. But yeah, did you switch universes? Almost certainly. What else could have caused the crack to reset? There are events where materials can reset in time to positions, or it's like a system restore on a computer, kind of like that. But given the nature of this event, where you're hydroplaning, your friend thinks you crashed, there's no video evidence of it, but maybe you simply quantum immortality'd as a verb, that's funny, but together to a new universe. I think if it happens, a death happens at the same time with someone you care about that you're really connected to, they do bundle the souls together most often. It does seem like there's enough stories where that happens, where people are ported over and they still remember the events that led up to the porting, the death. Case file number 3398, written by Ideally Corrosive. A very polite quantum dog. I'm dog sitting, and it's raining hard in California. I have to go pick something up, so I got the dog to go out into the backyard before I left. The yard is very small, and I didn't want her out there for too long, so that she wouldn't get the house too dirty. So I was waiting for her right at the door the whole time. She went and turned around a tiny corner where I couldn't see her. So I started calling her back after she had been there a while. She wouldn't come though. So I just kept waiting, wondering why she was taking so long. Eventually, I decided to try and look out one of the windows to see if I could see her through them, and I jumped when I saw her standing behind me in the back of the room, opposite the door, clearly confused as to why I was calling her in. I genuinely don't have an explanation for this. I was staring at the door the whole time. The storm door was slightly closed, so it wasn't like there was a ton of room to slip through either. I went around to check other doors in the house, wondering if she somehow got around the front and came in a different way, but nope. All the other doors are closed. I have to assume that she somehow did manage to slip by me, even with me staring out the back door the whole time. Unless she genuinely does have teleportation powers, and I've only started using them now. Case file number 3399, written by Available Kiwi 3862, signed for by nobody. A few years ago, I was sharing an apartment with two girls. Each had their own room while in college, and I had a definite glitch happen to me, in my opinion. Around 1 week before the weird moment, I visited my grandparents for the weekend. After I returned, I noticed that I had forgotten my laptop charger, so my grandpa did me the favor of mailing it to me. Because I needed the laptop for my classes, he chose the express delivery, one day, so we were both surprised when the package didn't arrive the whole week. My grandfather called the post service and they said they couldn't help, common where I'm from. The weekend comes, and I arrive home in the morning after a great house party. It was Saturday, but still no package. I knew I was home alone. We had a habit of letting each other know when we would visit our hometowns, and had been since the day before. We used to lock our bedrooms out of habit, so my door was definitely closed. Some crucial details before continuing. The layout of the apartment was simple. A long corridor with 5 doors. Kitchen and living room, bedroom 1, bedroom 2, bedroom 3, mine, and the last one, right at the end, and near my own, was the bathroom. It's very important to note that the doors open indoors, so if I were to enter my bedroom, I would have to push the door in. The bedroom was square-shaped, and there was a little nook of sorts near the door, like a small square attached to a big square. The swing of the door covered the entire little square from one side to the other. Again, this is important. So I had just arrived home and wanted to take a shower. I went into my bedroom, opened the door, dropped my bag, jacket, shoes, whatever, and left for the bathroom. I remember going back and forth between the room 2 or 3 times before finally entering the shower. Bedroom door swayed wide open, I remember. After I took my shower, I dried myself and left the bathroom. When I turned to enter my bedroom, I stopped. I saw the mail package right in the middle of that little square. It was right there, right in the middle, and I'm 100% sure it wasn't there before. Actually, it didn't even make sense that it would be there unless someone placed it, and I was completely alone. I feel like text doesn't make this situation justice. It appeared out of nowhere on a Saturday morning. Why I think it makes no sense that it had been there all the time. I asked my roommates if they had left my package in my room, and both said no. I was completely alone. I was sober and had slept already at my boyfriend's house. It was around 11 a.m., by the way. Remember the door swing? If it had been there the whole time, then it would have been pushed by the door when I first entered the bedroom. There was absolutely no way the door could open or close without touching it, and it was right in the center of the little square space. I tested it. It was not there before, I'm sure. I would have touched it when I entered and left the bedroom. It was around 20 by 20 centimeters. Plus, the space isn't big at all. I couldn't have missed it. I guess I have to say that I have never heard voices or hallucinated. I don't take medications, I don't have any diseases, and don't have a history of mental problems in my family. So yeah, I was dumbfounded for days. Even now, I still don't get it. It's almost as if it materialized right there. I immediately called my grandfather and told him about it, and he was weirded out too. Case file number 3400, written by Newto's Power 1369. There have to be rules. I was sitting at my desk at home, reading a book on my iPad. I use an Apple Pencil to highlight passages and take notes. For anyone unfamiliar, the Apple Pencil has a removable tip that can be replaced if it wears down. At some point, I decided to take a break. I attached the pencil to the side of the iPad, closed the case, and placed it on a small shelf directly in front of me. I then left my home office, talked with my wife in the kitchen for about 20 minutes, grabbed a snack, and came back to continue reading. When I opened the case, I immediately noticed something was wrong. The Apple Pencil tip was gone. At first I assumed it had simply come loose and fallen off without me realizing it. That seemed reasonable enough. I searched the shelf, my desk surface, the floor under the desk, and anywhere nearby where it could have realistically have fallen. I looked carefully and repeatedly. Nothing. It was just gone. What made this especially odd is that the pencil had only moved from my hand to the shelf. There was no walking around, no carrying it through the house. Nothing like that. I was confused and honestly pretty frustrated. While searching, I remember something I had once read about people asking the simulation or universe to return lost items. To be clear, I am not someone who spends much time thinking about simulation theory. I understand the concept, mostly because I went down some Matrix-related rabbit holes years ago, but I'm not a firm believer in it. I do occasionally read posts when they show up in my feed, because the topic is interesting. So, while ordering replacement tips on Amazon, mostly as a way to move on from the annoyance, I jokingly said out loud something like, "Come on, universe, you cannot just make things disappear. There have to be rules." I was not serious. It was half sarcasm and half frustration. A couple hours later, I put my hand into my left pocket and felt something small. It was the missing Apple Pencil tip. I stood there speechless. It was a weird realization that it had found its way to my pocket. I do not put my Apple Pencil in my pocket, ever. I never have. The pencil itself never left the desk area, and the tip would have had to detach, travel with me, and end up in my pocket without me noticing. That makes no sense to me. I reattached the tip, canceled the Amazon order, and just sat there trying to process what had just happened. I am sure there must be a logical explanation. I have no idea what it is, but whatever the explanation may be, this experience left me genuinely curious. Worst case scenario, if you ever lose something in an impossible way, maybe try calling out the universe. You might just get it back. Yep, so I've heard of this too. The whole St. Anthony thing, you just ask the universe or St. Anthony to return your lost item. I've tried. I've lost tennis balls. Pretty much just tennis balls, 2 of them. Universe, please, would you just return my tennis balls to me? St. Anthony? Could you? Imagine if they literally appeared above me and tennis balls just started dropping on camera. That'd be awesome, but yeah, no luck. Maybe one day. Case file number 3401, written by Peace Love Callie. A mother knows the sound. I'm a middle-aged mom with 2 adult sons. Neither lives with me, nor do I have a partner. I talk to and think about my sons all the time. I had recently moved into a new house, and I hadn't met any of the neighbors. I was driving home from work one afternoon, and it was bright daylight. As I was a few blocks away from home, another car got in front of me. It looked just like my elder son's car, which is uncommon, and it was playing the same loud, booming music that he would be playing. I always say I can hear him coming a mile away. I knew it wasn't my son, but I thought it was kind of a neat coincidence. As I was behind the car for a few blocks, they turned everywhere that I turned. Finally, they turned into my street in front of me. And of course, I made the turn too. Then of all things, I watched them turn into a driveway at the house right across the street from my house. It kinda tickled me that this car was so much like what my son would be driving if he were coming over, with music playing as loudly as he would be playing it, and they would be my neighbor. They'd parked in the driveway next to another car in the driveway outside of a closed garage, and I heard the music turn off. As I was grabbing my things and getting myself out of my car, I thought this was an opportunity to meet a neighbor. I planned on walking over to them as they got out of the car just to say, "Hey, that's like my son's car. I live across the street, nice to meet you." I got out of my car after just a few seconds, and I looked over to where they parked, waiting for them to exit the car. After a couple of minutes, I realized nobody was getting out of the car. It was impossible they could have gotten into their house in the couple of seconds that I looked away, since the time I heard their music turn off. So, I slowly started walking toward their door. I wasn't trying to be creepy or anything. At this point, I was just kind of confused. As I got closer to the car in the driveway, I saw that this was a completely different car. I mean, it wasn't even close to my son's car. The one I had been following had been a green Volvo. There were only 2 black sports cars sitting in that driveway now. I looked to the houses next door, thinking I guess it's possible that I saw the wrong house when they turned. There was nothing even similar to a green Volvo outside of any house, and since a lot of the houses on the street are rentals, a lot of cars are parked here. All of the houses directly across from me each had 2 cars parked outside of closed garages, meaning no one could have just now parked inside a garage, then have another car park outside a said garage in the few seconds it took me to get out of my car, and no one was getting out of any of them. I knew I followed a car for several blocks, and I saw it turn into a driveway right across the street from me. But none of them was the car that I followed, and nobody ever got out of a car. So what did I see? I've never imagined seeing one of my son's cars before or since, so all I can say is, this was a weird experience. Oh yeah, it's been a couple years since then, and I've never seen a car like my son's anywhere on the street. Now time for the jokes of the day. Went to my boss's funeral. I kneeled down next to the coffin and whispered, "Who's thinking outside the box now?" My 11-year-old daughter, being a smartass, asked if she was adopted. I said, "Not yet." "I got you an elephant for your room." "Thanks. Don't mention it." What happens when a target burns down? It becomes coals. You get it like the store? KOHLS. Good one. Before the clock strikes midnight on December 31st, be sure to lift your left leg. That way you'll be starting the new year off on the right foot. Alright, before you go, don't forget to like the video, subscribe if you haven't already. See you next time.